Just your average everyday trucker, keeping it real. I'm your host, Chris Blodgett, and you're listening to Real Talk Tuesday. This week's topic: emotional safety, self-care, and boundaries. Hey guys, welcome back. As always, as I say every week, thank you for being here. Appreciate you hanging out with me again this week. Hope you guys have been enjoying the Storytime Friday stories. I do have one coming up for you this upcoming Friday. I'm trying to stay on top of those. It's not an easy thing. Like I mentioned in previous Real Talk episodes, it's actually a lot easier to get into the negative feelings, negative thoughts, basically, anxiety, depression. Basically, I'll just put it off till later. I'll just do it next week. I've actually had those thoughts, and in fact, with this podcast, I know that those of you that have been with me since the beginning, you guys probably remember the random weeks where we didn't have any episodes for like a week. I think there's probably one or two times where we had a couple weeks that I didn't post anything. The longer I went without posting or recording any episodes, the harder it was for me to come back. But I tried to just adjusting the microphone on the headset because I barely turned my head to the side. It's like I'm not wearing that much. Got my reflective hooded sweatshirts on or whatever, and I keep turning my head. I keep hearing almost like the microphone's hitting like the side of my jacket or something. And it's like, all right, let me see if I can adjust this here. So, but the longer I went without recording an episode, whether Storytime Friday or Real Talk, I would go a couple weeks and I'd be telling myself, I gotta get back into it or whatever. But then, of course, you have that same temptation of just basically saying fuck it and not do it anymore, because again, like I've been doing this for a while. I mean, I feel pretty good about the show. I've listened to other shows that when you listen to them, they're really good, but I'm listening to those shows going, okay, I mean, they're not a whole lot different than how I am on my show. So it's like, but yet these other shows are really really successful, and I'm really happy for them. But there's that little bit of a like jealousy or whatever, because it's like, oh man, because that's where I want to be. But of course, like, these other shows I'm sure have a lot more because the way they went about it, maybe they're 9 to 5. You know, they had a lot more time to work with or something. I don't know. Who knows? Or they had, you know, they had a lot more resources to contribute to getting their show off the ground. With me, it's like you guys, I mean, I talk to you guys about it every week. Literally 6 days a week, only have 34 hours off, so I kind of have to do what I can throughout the week to get things recorded and ready to go. So that way, all I have to do is like do the edits and background music, sound effects, you know, then get things scheduled to post. That one day off lately, what I've been trying to do is I've been trying to go ahead, and that's why I've been leading on the freestyle stories, because you know, it's easier for me to hit record and try to tell a story on the fly. I'm still writing stories, of course, but then I have to find time to actually like sit down and actually like record those, and you can't do that while you're out here working, you know. So it's like one way I went about it, kind of with the when we came back, first story that we came back with, the Unspoken Betrayal. That one I kind of broke into a couple parts. So like I recorded like an hour or so at home on the night I wrote it, and then would have actually recorded more, but I kind of didn't realize my the battery was down pretty low until I'm mid paragraph and my computer goes powering down. I'm like, ah, shit. Otherwise, I probably would have done. I don't know if I would have recorded the whole story, but I might have tried to get at least, you know, half of it or maybe 2 hours worth, and then I would have probably only had like 45 minutes to an hour left. But I did part of it at home. I did like 45 minutes to an hour at St. Louis before I left one night, and then that following Sunday, because I was recording it for the following Friday, I got the remaining hour recorded, so that it was all good to go. But you know, just taking it, you know, day by day, week by week, and trying to do it at, you know, during the week, so that way when I get to my one day off, I'm not freaking out like, well, I want to hang out with the fam, but I also have work to do, blah blah blah. Because I don't want to have too many commitments on my day off, because I'd kind of like to just chill out and relax. It's like I want to go out and do stuff, but at the same time, I don't, because when it was like 10 degrees one night on a Sunday, I didn't go out. Like I literally like had my adult beverages delivered, and then ordered food for everybody, like ordered Mexican for dinner or something. And otherwise, I was on my side, you know, my recliner on my side of the couch, just, you know, hanging out with the wife or whatever. Just, you know, we're watching, catching up on the different episodes, whatever. And later on the day, because I hadn't gone anywhere and I was pretty much in the family room with my wife most of the day, I was like, this has been nice. Like, I feel like I've actually like just hung out and just relaxed. I haven't really, you know, had to really do much. So it's like I try to do my best to enjoy my one day off as much as possible, but it still flies by way too quick. That's why when I do take time off, probably gonna. I was planning to take a week, but I told my oldest earlier. She came up, was grabbing some food in the kitchen, and was waiting for the bus to show up, dropping the grand kiddo, you know, off from school or whatever. So I was talking to her, and I was like, you know, like when I take time off, I'm probably gonna take 2 weeks. She goes, oh really? I'm like, yeah. It's, you know, I was like, I wanted to take a week off like a month ago, because I've kind of been pretty burned out for a while, but I don't want to take time off until the youngest has her spring break, so that way she can come down to see my parents with me, you know. So looking forward to that. That'll be nice. But so, and this is actually like technically at the time of this recording, the current episode, like this week's Real Talk, and we did get a raw chat, so that technically I'm recording this on the same day that those posted. But you know how I am on these episodes. Sometimes like you get inspired to talk about a certain topic, and it's all about keeping it real and real talk, and you know, no bullshit, no lies, whatever. So I had an incident earlier, or kind of an inspirational moment earlier, that made me go, I need to do an episode or you know, I need to do the next Real Talk episode. And part of it had to do with that Raw chat episode. It was a good conversation, and I would say for the most part, but I mean, it was a good conversation. It was still good. It's just there's towards the tail end of it where I don't know. It's one of those, like, when you're having a debate with somebody that you feel like they're not really, you know, they have their arguments about what you're debating about, but they're not really, you don't feel like they're really well informed, but they're just making excuses. Well, especially when political, when they're making comments like, well, it's just the left's agenda and all whatever bullshit comment like that, you know. It's like, okay. Or say, I mean, I can understand people commenting about, like, Renee Good, you know, because there's that debate, oh, she's using the car as a weapon, blah, blah, blah. She wasn't, you know, I've already mentioned that there's, if you look up on Instagram, there's multiple videos that show different angles that show that she was driving the car away, and he shot her or whatever, and called her a fucking bitch, whatever. So, both her and Alex were murdered, but, the part of the conversation when, lady trucker, which you guys can listen to the call. You guys know who I'm talking about, so I'm not going to mention her name on this specific episode, but when she came on the call, it just felt like it was more like it felt kind of like there was already like a one-sided like conversation, kind of like making comments about like, well, it's just the left and they're whatever fits their agenda, and, you know, like they're not working, and, you know, going to like they go out there and protest or whatever. It must be nice, some of us have to work and pay our bills, whatever. It's like, yeah, I get that, but then, you know, kind of making excuses for why Alex might have been murdered. Oh, he was there a couple days prior. They saw him taking stuff out of a car. I'm like, that has nothing to do with the fact that they shot him and killed him. Like, he didn't draw his weapon. Yeah, he was there protesting, but he didn't do anything. Like, he didn't resist arrest. He was on the ground when they shot him in the back or whatever. So it's like, after that call, because, I mean, we had a good debate back and forth, me, her, Dave, and Chuck, or whatever. We were going back and forth about the whole thing. And I did kind of appreciate that one of the other drivers, Chuck, made a comment about the fact that, like, yeah, well, our current leader can't spell his own name, and he shouldn't have been elected in office. I'm like, okay, well, at least we can agree on something. But it just felt like it, with the way that she was talking, you know, I kind of, because, I mean, I'll debate with people that I feel like that we can go back and forth pretty peacefully about. But when you get somebody that's like hard right, you can tell they're hard right. And I'm like, I made a comment to somebody later. I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure she probably has a red hat in her truck. I don't know if she does or not. And and I'm not saying that she's MAGA or not. I don't know what she is, but she and I really don't talk except for whenever we're all on the Raw chat stuff. And my point isn't even about her specifically. It's about just the way that conversation went. It got a little more stressful towards the end, because it felt like no matter what anybody said, well, it's just the left's agenda. You know, it's just, you know, obviously they you know, they're gonna do whatever fits them, or, you know, fits into their narrative, whatever. And it's like, it's not about a narrative. It's about, like, morals. It's about right and wrong. It's about people being murdered, which I know that's not a new thing. I know there's been, like, you know, black people been murdered by cops, and then there are protests, and then other things have happened and there are protests. I mean, it's not a new thing, but it's sad when it's like the fact that you can have the right and the left, and we're fighting because, of course, they got their king, their ruler, and I was watching something before I left the St. Louis hub. It was one of those, I'd seen it before, but I actually hadn't seen this version of it. It was like, you know, somebody did a reaction video where they were watching the video. They had them on one screen, and you had the video on the other side, on the other screen, and they were reacting to it. Basically, it was this I don't know if he was a podcaster or what, but he was on camera. He had he had a microphone, and there was a guy that was asking him questions like about the Epstein files, like Donald Trump raping children or whatever. And basically, the question the guy asked him over the call, I guess, was, okay, say that Donald Trump was on, he was on the list, and say he did rape children. Like, what makes that wrong? Like, why is that a bad thing? And of course, the guy that's on camera with the microphone, he was, wait a minute, like, are you asking why it's wrong to rape children? Well, yeah, I'm just asking, like, in your opinion, like, why is that wrong? Like, why is that a bad thing? And he was, like, the guy on camera on the microphone was like speechless. He was like, and the guy on the call was like, "What? Can you not answer that? You have cotton swabs in your ears? Like, what's going on?" And of course, the guy on camera was like, "I really didn't think we'd come to this because they justified it, things that they were against, and then Donald Trump does it, and then all of a sudden it's okay." He said they did it with January 6th insurrection. They did it with January 6th pardons. They did it with the Medicare cuts or whatever. They did it with the SNAP cuts, and now they're doing it with the child rape. And I'm like, wow, that's just like, holy shit. But so that blew my mind right there. But there's no words, something like that. It's like, so you really don't know why that's wrong. But if I was on the camera, I was always looking up everything. I kind of thought, like, if I was the one on the camera, I think the question I would have asked him was, okay, if it was your kid that had that done to them, or like to him or her or whatever, like your daughter or whatever, would you say that it's wrong then? Well, yeah, because obviously it's my kid. Okay, so it's wrong if it's your kid, but it's not wrong if they rape someone else. But kind of adds a little bit off on a tangent a little bit, but basically with the call that on that raw chat call I was listening to, of course, like I mentioned to you guys, I listen to my own episodes as well, because that's kind of it's almost like a quality check. Like, I don't listen to it before they post because don't have time. But when they actually go live and they publish on the different platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, whatever, I jump on and I actually, while I'm out here going down the road, I go ahead and throw on my episodes so that I can make sure they sound okay, because I have had it happen in the past where where I was listening to an episode and I had like the background music or something started echoing, because it was like I put it in there twice, I guess. So it's like you heard the background music kind of like double playing, and I heard that. I was like, well, what the hell? And I went back in. I was like, oh shit. Went back in, deleted one of the tracks, saved it, uploaded it again to replace the current file. Gave it about half an hour, and then went in there, listened to the episode again, and of course it sounded normal. Then I was like, all right, cool. Because otherwise I would just have an episode that sounds bad and I wouldn't know, So but so as part of the inspiration for tonight's topic, after having that call last week, it was good. Don't get me wrong, like, I'm glad we had the call. Obviously, like, political stuff with everything going on with ICE killing people and them trying to set up literally concentration camps. We all need to be having these conversations. Like, needs to be going back and forth between people that are hard right, that think this is all a good thing, that, oh, he's saving the country, which he's not. But also, like, yeah, we don't need to be hard left, like, all the way left either. Like, we all should be able to talk about stuff peacefully, Like, I love when people get in front of you and slow down. It's like, all right, I was going the speed limit, but I guess I'll slow down. But every so often, it's kind of why I'm hesitant to usually talk about, like, that's why I've always said since the beginning, that I really don't want to do political talk or religious talk on the show because I know that it can be a very, very sensitive topic. But with everything that's going on in the country right now, I figure my thought process is that, you know, if you have a platform, you might as well try to do some good with it, you know. And so, like, if I wasn't on social media and I didn't have this podcast, then really, I'm not gonna go out and physically personally walk up to somebody, hey, by the way, I'm like, no. Me and my sister-in-law Sonia had a little back and forth because, like, their businesses they do, which if you guys are anybody who wants to talk investments or like life insurance and stuff, I can connect you with them. They can help you out with that stuff. Send me a message at blogtheshowpodcast@gmail.com and I'll connect you with them. I'll forward your information onto them. They can contact you, whatever. But one of the things that was like a couple years back, probably 2 or so years back. Actually, it might have been further than that because I think it was either right around like at the tail end of COVID or after COVID or something. I had made a comment or I'd posted something online or on Facebook about like with the current restrictions, are you still comfortable, walking up to people and talking to them out in public, like random strangers or whatever? My sister-in-law was like, well, yeah, absolutely. Like, I'll literally walk up to them and ask them about their finances or whatever. And I'm like, really? I'm like, no, thank you. She goes, yeah, you gotta be comfortable or get comfortable being uncomfortable. And I'm like, no, I'm good. I think I'll pass on that thing. But so it's very interesting, but so I had a little bit of when I mentioned that I have like, you get those little bit like little brain farts or whatever, and then all of a sudden you're like, where was I going with that? So it's kind of happened, and I'm like, oh fuck. But so during that call, it's just, I noticed that when we got done with that call, I felt off. Like, it felt like this other driver, which is a nice person, I don't have anything against her at all, I just kind of felt like it was like I got the vibe that she's hard right, that she's a Trump supporter, that she thinks the left is basically just a bunch of crybabies or whatever, and like, yeah, they just have time to go protest and whatever, and like, whatever fits their narrative, and they got an agenda, and it's like, evil shit is literally happening, and you're basically saying, well, the left is just, so I kind of, I don't think I've ever had that feeling or felt the way I did as I did after that call, like when I got home and tried to go to bed. Literally, like, I got home, had to grab something to eat, change, got in bed, tried to go to sleep, and I noticed that, like, I couldn't shut my mind off. Like, I was literally thinking about that call, thinking about the arguments that she was trying to make, and it's like, how could I'm in my head going, I really would, and that's why I've always been saying that people just need to look around. Like, I don't have to make anything up. I don't have to, like, concoct any stories about the stuff that's happening out there. Like, literally, there's videos out there that show it. So it's like, all you gotta do is just scroll. Like, not necessarily look for what. So my wife made a good point. She's like, well, she probably only sees, like, the hard right news, like the stuff that she's looking at. That's what's popping up in her feed, so she's seeing that. Versus, like, she looked at me and she goes, whereas, like, you are, you and I are more towards the left. Like, we actually want to know, like, what actually happened, and so we're actually getting the raw videos that are being posted. Not necessarily, it's hard left, hard right. We're literally, because we're not looking at just MAGA news, we're actually seeing, the ones that are showing that people got shot, the different angles and stuff like that. It's like pretty easy when you're actually looking for the real authentic posts to actually see what's happening. But if you're only listening to one source, aka the king, then it can be, and that's why it's like the video I mentioned earlier, where the guy was asking the host or whatever, like, well, why is it wrong to rape children? Like, if he's on the list and he did that, but why is that wrong? Why is that a bad thing? It's like, cause it fucking is. Because, if it was your kid, you probably wouldn't be asking this dumbass question. Why is it wrong to invade another country and take somebody, like, or why is it wrong to want to go to war? Because we're a superpower. It's like, none of us want to be in World War III. Like, I don't want the world to end sooner than it's supposed to. Whenever, I don't know when the world is set to end. Hopefully a long time from now. But with somebody who would take us to war, and that's the other thing too, that I've had those thoughts go through my head about the military, like. Because I told my wife, I said, well, as a former military veteran myself, I was like, we're told from day one that if you're given an unlawful order, it is your duty to disobey. Now I get it. Like, I understand that a lot of people would probably be afraid to disobey because of what might happen, like end up in like Quantico prison or whatever. Dealing with harsh conditions because they looked at it as a traitor to their country. You didn't obey your order. Well, it was illegal order, so I'm not gonna, So, but with the call, it's like I really struggled with that when I was just trying to go to sleep later that morning. And so I've thought a lot about that over the past, since that call. And even I've been on the phone with my buddy David Goldberg since that call, and we never, like, the calls are never bad. Like, he and I go back and forth, whatever. And then we get Chuck on the phone, usually a pretty cool call, whatever. And when this lady is on the phone too, like, it's usually just like she's pretty easy to talk to. Like, it's never been an issue. This is the first time that I kind of was like, I really don't want to be on the call right now. When talking to her about politics, it's all the left's agenda. Left has whatever fits their narrative or whatever. And it's like, I was like, are you not even looking around? And I would honestly, like, that's why the way I am when talking politically about with anybody is I would rather, like, if I realize very early on that it's gonna be like, it's not gonna be like a peaceful back and forth, like, I feel this way and then I feel this way, I'm like, okay, I understand that, but what about this? Like, oh, that makes sense, but what about this? And they're like, oh, okay, you can see each other's point of views. But when you have when both sides of the discussion are complete opposites, and like, one of them is just basically saying, well, the left is all a bunch of dumbasses and stuff, like they're terrorists and whatever. It's like, then I kind of shy away and go, you know what, like, obviously, like, we're not going to agree, and we're not really going to we can't really talk about this, because obviously you are pretty hard right, you feel, or you seem like you're pretty hard right, you seem like you're basically just think that, there's open borders, which, I even tried to Google that the other day, because of course, like, I'm trying to fact check, because that's one of the big arguments. Well, Biden had open borders, let millions and millions of people in this country, but then they also will say that Obama and Biden were the deporter in chief. It's like, so you're saying they had open borders, but then you're saying they deported more people than Trump, and it's like, so it's like, there's a lot of things that the right says that, there's some videos on Instagram that I'm like, this one creator that I love his content, because literally he just shows some videos of, like, I think it was like the vice president said something about the 30 million immigrants have come into this country during the Biden administration, and like they're taking all the houses. These houses should be actually saved for actual citizens. That's why there's a housing crisis, whatever. And then this creator comes back on camera and goes, so wait a minute. So, like, we have 300 million in this country, 30 million people is only 10%, but he's more like 10 to 15 million or 10 to 14 million, you know, and they have come in, and I can't remember exactly what it said, if that was like per year or if that was like the total was like, I think he said the total was like 30 million, and so this guy was saying no, it's like more, the real number is like 10 to 14. 30 million is only 10% of the population. 14 million is less than 5% of the population. He goes, so they're all on Medicare, getting free food, free housing, whatever, but they're also buying all the houses. They are on Medicare, but they're also taking all the jobs. So it's like, you know, pointing out the fact that like they'll argue one thing and then they'll argue, oh, they're taking all the houses, oh, they're all getting free shit, like they're all doing this and that, but yet they're taking all the, they want everything free, but yet they're taking all the jobs. It's just like, it's funny shit. Watch, like, when you're you know, just looking, like, researching or whatever, it's like, don't just listen to what Mr. You know, King in Chief, you know, what the right or what the, you know, the current president and vice president, whatever, hard right Republicans, whatever, just don't listen to what any one person says. Actually go online and just Google it, like research it, like try to find the answers yourself, because it's really easy to basically be like, well, this is what Trump says, and it must be true, you know, and he said it's like all the problems we're having, it's radical left, but then there's also like, you're talking about guns, about the fact that the guy, the nurse, Alex, that got murdered, oh, he you know, you're protesting peacefully, you shouldn't have a gun on you, but he had the permits, you know, he legally had the legal right to have the firearm on him, like there was nothing wrong with it. He didn't take the gun out. ICE actually took the gun off of himself before they shot him 10 times, and then said, hey, well, that's like Call of Duty, isn't it? But you know, he had the lawful right to have the gun, and then they've showed videos of Trump saying that, well, yeah, like if you're protesting, you know, you're on the left, whatever, like you just shouldn't have a firearm on you, blah blah blah. But then it's okay for the right to, you know, the MAGA Trump supporters to have firearms on them. So it's like, so they could have like the right to carry, you know, the right to bear arms or whatever only applies to one side and not to both sides. But if it's switched, then obviously, you know, like it'd be like, well, no, like saying that then we should. There's been arguments saying that, like, where it's like you flip the script, where something happens and it's a Republican or a MAGA person that ends up getting killed, and all of a sudden, you know, because they had a firearm, they'd be like, well, it's their right to have the gun or whatever. It's like, you can't have it both ways. You can't have the rights, but not the other side of the rights too, you know. But so when I try to go to bed, I struggle. Like, I was laying there in bed going, man, I cannot go to sleep. Like, I can't shut my mind off. Like, I kind of, in a way, like, I know that conversation was a good conversation, but I still kind of regretted it, because it's like, yeah, I'm just like, mentally I'm kind of struggling right now, because it bothers me when it's that extreme either direction. Like, hey, well, yeah, it's just their agenda, it's just their narrative, blah blah blah, like, you know, they shouldn't be out there protesting, they should be working their job. It's like, okay, but if nobody, like, one of the creators, I was watching their video earlier, which I'll go ahead and give a little shout out to these two creators, and I've mentioned them before. If you look them up on Instagram, follow them, hell, if you want to give me a shout out with them, like when you do a comment, hey, heard about you on the Blodgett Show podcast. I'm not going to comment, because that may be kind of like promoting the show. And I'm not going to go that far, but on these two accounts is The Naked Truth HQ, and then Klein.kt, KLEINE.kt. Two very awesome ladies that literally just started out. They don't give a shit what any of the MAGA, hard right, whatever, come in there and try to talk shit to her. And she's like, I don't care what you think. Like this is like, you know, your argument holds no weight, blah blah blah. You know, and just basically it just comes back at him with facts. And there's been other guys too. There's another one that's like, I don't know what his Instagram handle is, but it's a guy that basically, he's a professor, And I think he says, Professor Poutine here, time for Mr. E's histories. And he goes, to the whiteboard. He goes over to the whiteboard, has like facts. He's talking about like Nazi Germany and the similarities from what's going on right now to what happened back then, and the similarities between the ICE squad and the SS, and the main difference between the two is that ICE wears masks because they're too chicken shit to show their faces when they're dragging innocent civilians out of their houses or whatever. So it's like, I don't, if I can get his Instagram handle, I'll tell you guys about, kind of direct you towards him because he's a good one too. But as he's had even comments too, trying to be like, ICE is not like the SS, for fuck's sake, whatever. And he goes, okay, to the whiteboard. He goes, let's compare the two. And he's like, so they, and he literally like had like 5 different categories. Like they can do this without government oversight. Check. They both could do the, they both, made people disappear to concentration camps or whatever, never to be seen again. Check. And then he comes in there and goes, all right, if you say, well, that's not true, this doesn't, it's not real, that's not, not fact. He goes, okay, fine. Then come in my comments and prove me wrong. Like, prove that I'm wrong. But people can't, a lot of people that are, unless they've actually looked up the facts and they're hard right, they're just literally arguing because, well, no, like, it's not true, that can't be real, or, like my buddy Dave, of course, his argument on one of our calls is basically about, or on that call actually, that, from last week or whatever, was basically like, well, I mean, obviously there's bad eggs, and you can't judge the whole group, the whole ICE department or something on those bad eggs. Of course, I mentioned that to my friend, brother from another mother, Rico, from the Keeping It Real segment, about bad eggs and whatever. And he brought up a very good point that others have commented on as well, that no, you don't just have a handful of bad eggs. If there's bad, like, it's like if you're in a group, this is the way that Rico gave me his thought on it. If I'm a part of a group of people and we go and we rob and kill a bunch of people, like we home invasion, or we do a home invasion on a house, and we kill a few of the family members or rape a wife, whatever. But yet Rico was like, but if I'm there, but I'm not doing anything, I'm just present, but I'm seeing it all happen, I don't do anything. He was, I'm just as guilty as the rest of the group. And even when we go to court, if I try to argue with the judge, well, Your Honor, like, yeah, I didn't pull the trigger, I didn't rape anybody, I was just there, like, I'm innocent, And I've actually heard of this happening in actual murder cases. Like, there was a murder case, there was a podcast about a family in Ohio, I think, that murdered an entire other family. And then it took them like 10 years before the police had enough evidence that they arrested the entire family, or like the mom, the dad, and the 2 sons, the 2 adult sons. And one of the sons had helped, but he didn't kill, he didn't pull the trigger, and he didn't do anything violent against the other family, but he helped with the entire plan. So his argument was he was innocent because he actually wasn't the trigger man, he was not guilty, but of course, like, they all got pretty much guilty verdicts, and the mom and the other son actually took a plea deal to testify against the father and the other son to avoid the death penalty. Because it was like a family of like 8 or 9 people, I think, that they murdered. Like, they had silencers, and there was like 3 different residences that they went to and killed. They left like a baby that was unharmed, but otherwise, like, the baby was nursing when they came in and basically shot the mother in the head or whatever. It's like pretty gory shit, listen to this podcast about the trial and stuff. But basically, because he was a part of the plan, he was there, he was part of it. So he was just as guilty as the ones that committed the murders. And so I kind of agree with Rico on that when it comes to, like, yeah, there's some bad eggs in that organization, in that department, but if they're not, the only way that I would say that the entire department wouldn't be bad with those handful of bad eggs, it'd be if they hold those bad eggs accountable. Like if they get the ones that the guy that killed Renee Good and the officers that shot and killed Alex, and then joked about afterwards, like either fucking bitch or all that. It's like Call of Duty, isn't it? I think all those motherfuckers should be brought up on murder charges, and then face like life prison sentence. Or in the case of like the ones that shot Alex like 10 times, like that was very deliberate. I'm kind of impartial. I don't know as far as like I don't know if I would say the death penalty or not. That's a whole other debate right there. But I know definitely they should be brought up on murder charges, and face like the rest of their lives behind bars or whatever. Because like all of them, the one that shot Renee Good and the officers that killed Alex, that was a deliberate act. That was first degree murder right there. So, but when I was listening to the episode tonight, I got to that part where like, it was me, David, and Chuck were on there. The other lady hadn't come on there yet. And I started thinking, because I was immediately starting to kind of get anxious, like have a little bit of anxiety coming up. I'm thinking like, oh man, I don't know if I want to listen to the end of this call, because I remember how I felt when I got home after the call last week or whatever. And so like I knew that she'd probably been popping on there pretty soon. So I was like, you know what? I already know what the conversation, how the conversation ended. I already know like what was said, whatever. So I'm not worry about it. I'm gonna switch. And I switched because I've listened to it on Spotify. So like I was, went ahead and switched it from Spotify on the podcast to like one of my playlists. Listen to music or whatever. So I thought, you know what? I'm gonna protect. Like I don't want to go there again mentally. I want to mentally and emotionally. I want to actually protect my peace and take a go a different direction. And instead of listening to this call and probably, even though I know I can't change it, probably feeling the same way I did after the call first time, I thought, you know what? I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna change it up. Because it was decent. It was like a decent night. Like last night was kind of rough, not too bad. But basically, like I stopped at this Love's that has a Arby's in it, and went in there, got my coffee, got my food. Thought I got my food. I guess me and another customer, our bags not switched. We both had curly fries, mozzarella sticks, and 2 turnovers. But I had gotten the cordon bleu, and I don't know what he got. If he got like chicken bacon Swiss or something that has like lettuce, tomato, and like honey mustard or something on it. And the chicken cordon bleu is pretty basic: chicken, ham, mayo, and cheese. And so I didn't realize it. Cause, I'm thinking like, it's cordon bleu, I don't have to check my sandwich, because usually, how could they mess it up, right? But I didn't check it, and I get in the truck, and I get on the road continuing towards St. Louis. And the irony is actually, like, I've already stopped at this Love's, but I'm going to be pulling off here in a minute because, of course, stomach's a little bit in knots. Gotta do a pit stop, probably not. I don't want to try to push it too much further and be like, oh, yeah, I'm not going to make it. But, so I get on the road, and, about 10, 15 miles away from the Love's, and, eat the fries, and, I go to open my, probably not 10 or 15, it was like probably like 5 or 10 minutes out, and, ate my fries, and I take the sandwich out, and I, peel the wrapper off or whatever, and I open it up, because I'm not a fan of like ketchup, mustard, pickles, stuff like that. Like, literally will not do them. Like, if they're on a sandwich I get, and I'm like, sandwich will get thrown away, because I'm like, well, shit, I can't eat that, I've gone as far, with having pickles on a sandwich that if I can, like if it's not touching like the meat or whatever, I'll take off whatever the toppings that the pickle was on top of, and the bun, you know, that was all stuck, also touching that pickle, and I'll end up eating, if it's a burger, I'll be like eating the bottom bun with the patty and the, you know, maybe that had cheese or whatever toppings that it wasn't touching. It'll be like eating half a burger instead of the full burger because of the fact that, you know, like I didn't want to have any pickle flavoring on whatever I ate. So, but so I get probably about 10 miles away from that Love's, and I pop open it, you know, and I automatically I get a whiff of pickle. And I'm like, why am I smelling pickle? And then I look, and I'm seeing like lettuce, and this looks like, I'm used to like little pickles too, but like literally on the bottom, like sticking out from the bottom of the sandwich, I can see what looks like a very massive pickle, like the size of my palm practically. And I was like, well, shit, okay, you know, a lot of lettuce on the bottom, big pickle, and I'm like, I don't think I got the right sandwich, you know, so I kind of, I ended up basically wrapping it back up and basically throwing it away. I'm like, crap. So I basically ate the fries, and I went ahead and ate the mozzarella sticks and one of the turnovers, and I had one of the other turnovers on my way, you know, when I left to go back towards Kansas City or whatever. And but it wasn't enough, because of course, like, it'd be like getting a chicken or a steak or something, and like they screw up your main course, so all you get is like the potatoes and some broccoli, you know, and then maybe dessert afterwards, but otherwise you get like your water, and you know, so it's like, versus like if you get your main course but one of your sides is screwed up, you're still a little bit more full than you would be if it's your main course messed up and not your sides, you know. So I kept the receipt and figured, you know, well, I mean, maybe I'll come back through here tomorrow. Maybe I'll be able to go and talk to him, whatever, because they're usually pretty good. I've never had an issue here. So I made 2 stops, because I, you know, Fuel of the Love's like halfway between Kansas City and St. Louis. And it's like pulling in here to this Love's, and there's like people like these trucks parked on the corners or whatever. I'm like, I don't think that's a parking space, man. Like, I don't think you're legally allowed to park there. Oh, it's fine. Even when there's actual parking spaces. It's like, I was like, dude, there's spaces open. Why are you parked there? But, so I pulled in here tonight, figured get my coffee, get my food, go and take my receipt in at Arby's, whatever. You know, because it's the same people that were working last night. Go up to the counter, like, hey, how you doing? Hey, not too bad. So I have a question for you, or I have an issue. Like, yeah, what's up? I was like, yeah, you guys remember I came to last night? Like, yeah, we remember. I was like, all right, well, I think I got someone else's order. She immediately was like, yeah, you did. We remember literally like we realized that literally too late after you left what happened, because the other guy brought his back, and he had yours, whatever. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's kind of what I figured. So she's like, so what can I get you tonight? I said, I'm gonna do the same thing, pretty much, the cordon bleu, whatever. She goes, all right, cool. I'm not gonna charge you for the sandwich, because I said cordon bleu, large curly, large mods, 2 turnovers. She goes, I'm not gonna charge you for the sandwich. I'm just gonna charge you for everything else. But all right, cool. I appreciate that. Thank you. So that was nice. Kind of what I was kind of hoping that maybe they would do, even though if they still charged me, I still would have paid. I wasn't gonna worry about it. As long as I got tonight, you know, as long as I got the sandwich, because it's like, by the time I got home yesterday morning, I was fucking starving. You know, because the food I had, it sustained me for a while, but it wasn't like, hey, you're full and you feel full for a while. It was like, hey, I feel good right now, but then within like 2 hours, I was like, I burned through it pretty quick versus like because protein. So that was nice. So I get like a little ways between like this Love's and St. Louis, And of course, like I already listened to the Real Talk episode. I was like most of the way through the Raw Chat episode, and it was getting to that part where she was gonna come on the call, and I was thinking about last week, like how I felt after the call. I was like emotionally drained and just like struggling. And it's like, yeah, I don't think I want to listen to the rest of this call. I think I want to bow out, and I want to switch over to like music or whatever to keep things positive, whatever. So that's kind of where why part of the inspiration for this topic this week is basically like sometimes, guys, we have to do that. Like, especially when it comes to things that are like, whether it's political, family, whatever. You know, if you know that something is gonna end up going a route that makes you feel drained, like it you know, wears you down, makes you struggle to actually like keep your spirits up because it just it just weighs on you. It's okay to step back and be like, look, I'm gonna need a minute. Like, I don't think I can do this right now. I gotta make sure that I'm okay. And so it's like that. So you gotta protect your peace. You gotta protect your emotional stability, your soul, really. You know, like if you know that something is going to drag you down, and you know it beforehand, then step back, take a breather. Maybe separate yourself from somebody who might be like, I guess it'd be like the ones you say like negative influence, you know? Like, I've actually got, like, since all these political stuff going on, like I mentioned on previous Real Talk episodes, I've actually had a couple people on Facebook that I've been connected with for a while that I actually separated myself from, I disconnected from. Because they're like extreme right, like they're only listing things or posting things that Trump posted, like memes about Biden and talking about like libtards and whatever. And it's like, you are so stupid. It's like none of it is like factual. It's just memes that they're posting. Like, oh, this is true. Like Biden's a pedophile. Blah blah blah. Like your guy that you support is a convicted felon. Like you're talking about, like Biden and Obama should be charged, or they should be in jail, or Hillary Clinton should be in jail, or this or that. It's like, but your guy is literally a convicted felon, and but if we are, oh no, that's just that's a Democratic hoax right there. That's not real. He didn't really get convicted. That was all fake news. It's like, man, it's like try to talk circles with somebody, and so it's like sometimes all you can do is focus on yourself. Like, get rid of the negative people in your life. They're just doing nothing positive for you. My mom, for instance, talked about how she's not talking to her and my brother aren't talking because he's very, very big Trump supporter, I guess. And she thought I was, and I was like, no. She saw some of my comments on some of these creators I've told you about, Klein.kt, KLEINE.kt, and The Naked Truth HQ. She saw some of my comments on it. She's like, I thought you were a Trump supporter. I was like, fuck no. I've never been a Trump supporter. I was like, I'm surprised my brothers are, but, I was like, but hey, everybody can make their own decisions, have their own, choose their own path or whatever. So it's like, all right, but it's just, so she's apparently not talking to one of my brothers about, just because of the fact that he's so hardcore Trump, like talking about like open borders and all the bullshit that we're hearing from him and all his supporters that basically are only listening to what he says. Like, well, he says it must be fact. Like, there's this thing called Google. Just look up what you're arguing and make sure that it's fact before you spout it, just because the supreme leader said something. But just verify information. That's all. But it's like, it's funny because when my mom told me she's not talking to my brother, I'm not even talking to him right now because it's like, it's just. I was like, wow, okay. It's like, okay, so we just gotta do what we can to protect ourselves, guys. do what you can. Like I said before, like post to your stories if you're not comfortable doing videos and being out there, putting your face out there. There's plenty of videos out there that show things that have happened, showing interviews that are going on where they're obviously like disputing what they're claiming in those interviews. Just share those to your stories, repost those. You don't have to go live on your own channel or your own accounts to support those that are protesting all the injustices that are going on right now. But at the same time, let's say you do try to have those conversations with people that you're close to and they're hard right or whatever, and they, all they do is spout hatred and facts, whatever. There's one person, I saw one of the accounts, the one that basically was talking about how that they're all on welfare, but they're taking all the houses. They're on welfare, but they're taking all the jobs. He was pointing all those things out. He had one of his videos where there was a comment that was apparently like, I think it was like a lady, probably in her 20s. I think that's kind of what it looked like, mid 20s, whatever. That. Oh, actually, I don't even know. It's just my estimate on her age based on what I saw, but she commented on there saying that she voted for Trump basically to punish the left. That if she was God, hell would be a lot more full right now, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wow, really? Okay. And there's another post that I saw a lady commenting about all the crap, all the injustice stuff that's going on right now. And talking about how everybody on the left, you guys are all like treasonous bastards, and like we're all on treasonous bastards or whatever. And I'm like, how are we treasonous bastards? I will always vote for Trump. He's the best president ever. You treasonous motherfuckers. And I'm like, wow, really? This is the so when you deal with people, and like if you're dealing with people like that in your life who are extreme that direction, and they don't even have facts to back up, they're just arguing the things that they've heard. And it's okay if it negatively affects your mental health, whatever. Like if you struggle to, afterwards to sleep, maybe have to have a few drinks because of the fact that people are a lot. It's okay to back away from them. It's okay to say, you know what? Like there's people that I'm seeing on Instagram right now that are literally talking about how they've kicked friends and family out of their life because of the fact that they support what's going on right now. And it's like, well, can't we just get along? Like, can we just put politics aside and get along? And it's like, no, we can't, because you're supporting people being dragged out of their homes and murdered and put in concentration camps or whatever, and going to war and everything else. Like, you literally defending the guy in office. It's like, these guys are saying, like, if you're defending all that, you're saying that the president right now, that the supreme leader is a good man and, saving America, whatever. These people are like, then I can't have anything to do with you, because like that's wrong. Like, there's so much wrong. So, the point I'm trying to make with this episode, guys, is basically like, it's okay to back away, protect ourselves, guard our our personal health, our mental health, and you can still fight the fight. You can still get in debates with people. You can still share stuff, but don't sacrifice your personal mental health, your emotional well-being, because of dumbasses out there that are literally just gonna be extreme right or whatever, or just extreme in any way, and not gonna really be able to meet you in the middle as far as like actually have a civilized conversation. Just be like hateful about whatever you guys are talking about, So back away, let kick people out of your life that obviously are only making things more emotionally difficult for you, and just focus on yourself. Like, focus on your life. It's not worth, like, our health, our well-being is not worth some of these some of these people out there that are just like, all they care about is being right, even though they don't have facts. All they care about is winning the argument with you, even though you have have the actual information, and they don't. Like, they just have what's been said to them by other people that are extreme right or whatever. All we can do is, just if you try to educate people, you try to have a civilized conversation, but when it becomes clear that these people are just basically talking about it's just the left's agenda, it's just their their narrative. Sometimes you're like, I will literally shut down. Like during that call, I kind of got quiet towards the end until she got off the call, because I was like, okay, I'm a little uncomfortable because this, obviously, like, she probably has a red hat in her truck, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. Again, I don't know if she does or not. I don't know if she's MAGA or what, but it felt that way to me. So I was like, yeah, I'm not very much invested in this conversation anymore because it's too much now. It's one thing to have a little bit of a difference of opinion, like, well, it's like my buddy Dave talking about, like, well, there's bad eggs in every organization. We shouldn't judge the whole ice group on that. But then I told you what Rico said or whatever. I mean, those differences make sense. Those are at least you can still have a conversation. But when somebody's like, oh no, that's their agenda, just whatever fits their narrative. All they're out there protesting because they're out there not working or whatever. And it's like, yeah, they could take time off work, actually request time off work, and their job can't punish them for that. Like, they can request time off work specifically to go out there and peacefully protest, because that's our right as American citizens. Or in the Constitution, like, literally that's our right to do so. So on that note, guys, apologies about the length of this episode, but I figure I'm gonna get ready to go in here and take care of business here in this Loves really quick. But like I do with most episodes, I figured I try to do, especially when I feel inspired about a certain topic, I try to sometimes I'll go ahead and be like, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and pull the headset out, go ahead and go ahead and do a topic about it, because it's something that that I'm motivated by, something that I think might be important to talk about with everyone else. So in closing, anybody who wants to support the show, please do go to blodgettshow.com/support. There's a donation link on there for either a one-time donation or a recurring donation. Everything helps, basically, from hosting, like anything that comes, it'll help towards hosting cost, or basically working towards being able to publish the stories that we've done for the Storytime Friday. You can find us on social, on Instagram at Blodgett Show Podcast. I am TN Trucker Chris on my personal, on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, and you can find me my blog, tntruckerchris.wordpress.com, and CEAZ Freedom on X. And anybody who, if you're a creative writer and you have some stories that you want me to actually feature on the show on any of the Storytime Friday episodes on every Friday, feel free to email them to me at blodgettshowpodcast@gmail.com. But on that note, you know what I always say, guys, keep pushing forward, keep believing, keep, just take care of yourselves, obviously. Like I said, just, if conversations get too heavy because of something really, really extreme right or whatever, or it feels that way, maybe I overread the situation, but it felt to me like that's how she was coming on to me in the conversation was, yeah, she's hard right. Like, she's all Democrat, left, or liberal, blah, blah, libtards. It's like, yeah, okay, there's no really talking to that. So, no talking politics anyway. We've had other conversations that are awesome, but politics, I'm probably not going to do that again. But take care of yourself. Focus on, make sure that you're okay. Just keep taking it one week at a time, one day at a time. Believe you can, believe you will, and you're already halfway there. We only fail if we quit and give up and walk away. So as long as we keep pushing forward, keep getting back up and trying again, we've never failed. So I appreciate you guys being here. Tell your, if you like what you heard tonight, if you're new to the show, feel free to tell your friends and family, spread the word. I am always trying to grow the show so we can get to the point eventually where I can actually make progress with it, add you know, advertisements, monetize it, eventually maybe free up some time, not have to be out here doing what I do as much, and be able to focus more on what I can bring more value to you guys. But on that note, you guys have a great rest of your week. As of right now, at the time of this recording, I don't know if there's gonna be a Raw chat, but hopefully, you know, because obviously since I'm recording this a week out, so it's like I don't know what's gonna happen the rest of this week, but there will be a story time Friday and Friday, so just have a great rest of your week. Come back on Friday, enjoy the story, and I will talk to you guys on the next one. Have a good one.